I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karen Russell, Ruoff Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington. Welcome to At Home in Bloomington. I'm your host, Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and I'm joined by our sponsor, Karen Russell, who is a senior loan officer at Ruoff Home Mortgage, or as I like to call her, the best name lender in the state of Indiana. Welcome, Karen.
Hello.
And thank you for sponsoring our show.
You're most welcome.
Make sure you listen at the end. There's information on how to contact Karen if you have any loan needs. Karen and I did a real estate podcast for the past 2 years. You can find it on iTunes and our website and YouTube and all kinds of places. And it was, it was a good experience. I want to say it was pretty popular. I don't know if it was popular. People listened.
Yeah.
We had, we were very, very well liked in Poland and Italy and Ireland.
Yeah, those countries where they're going to buy their, investment properties here. They're going to come here and use you and I.
So as a realtor, I thought, it is time to bring the show back down to a local level. So that's what we are doing with At Home in Bloomington. We're super excited to do that. And we're going beyond the whys and hows of real estate. All of that information is still out there. We have 96 hours of podcasting about how to buy real estate and how to sell real estate and how to get your house ready and all that stuff. So there's tons of information out there, but we want to focus more right now on community. Our goal with this podcast is to bring you the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington home, and to help your sense of community, whether you're new or whether you have been in Bloomington your whole life. I've been here on and off 28 years total, which is crazy to think about. So we've got shows that are coming up that are focusing on restaurants and wellness and fun and things to do. So everything with a Bloomington focus. So thank you for tuning in or downloading or whatever the kids call it these days. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. You could be like our friend here who thought we were blogging.
Yeah.
He thought this was a blog.
So are you guys doing your blog today?
Yeah.
Not quite. It's a podcast, but that's fine. Make sure you're following us on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. We'll make it super easy to find future shows, and we'll link to anything that we talk about during today's show. So today's show is about a huge change that's coming to Bloomington, and I know a lot of times people are afraid of change. One of the things we've been experiencing recently, lots of new roads and changes to our driving routines that about to drive everybody crazy. New buildings. We've seen some old buildings kind of get torn down and new ones come up. I came to Bloomington 28 years ago, so a lot of times when people are trying to explain to me where something is, I'm like, well, what used to be there? That's what I need to know. What used to be there? But sometimes change is good, and I think that's what we are going to be talking about today. So if you've been in Bloomington for as long as I have, or longer than I have, you'll kind of faintly remember the old RCA complex off of Rogers, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember Bud's Sandwich Shop?
No, I don't.
Yours is a huge fan of Bud's Sandwich Shop.
Okay.
Yeah. He used to go there all the time. Anyways, and I remember I had some friends who lived on Rogers across the street from the RCA complex, and it seemed like it was just miles and miles and miles of buildings. Now that is Cook, and there's a lot of other things, or Catalent, I guess they just changed their name, and a lot of other buildings over in that area. But beyond that, do you know what was beyond that?
No,
I never really went beyond that, right? There was sort of this overgrown and hidden area, and that was the railroad switchyard. So that's where they would switch train cars around and kind of build the line of cars. I don't know any of the formal terms for that. I think all we really knew is that you couldn't cross from Rogers to Walnut for quite a ways.
Yeah.
Right, from Grimes or Country Club. You still can't because that switchyard is there. In fact, I even lived in an apartment that backed up directly to the Switchyard Park in 1993. Down on Walnut Street.
Oh, wow.
It was decent back then.
Okay.
Anyways, I paid $275 a month. That tells you how old I am. And I never knew what was back there beyond the train line. But it was literally right there. So we are going to clear up the mystery today of what is in that overground area that we are starting to slowly see revealed. So my guest today is Paula McDevitt, who is the director of City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
And we are going to try and not make any jokes about the Parks and Rec show. I don't know if that had any positive impact on how Parks and Rec is viewed.
It's got the playful. I think it absolutely illustrates why people like myself and our staff do what we do, because we love to meet people and be people and play and create fun opportunities. So that's a great show.
Okay.
We got some laughs out of
Good.
this. We're some relatable topics.
We're like
We'll
that
leave it
with
at
Modern Family and the dad's a realtor.
Yes.
We get the
Okay,
same
the
like
same-
laughs like
same
nobody else would get
Leslie
that.
thing.
Yep.
Yes.
And how long have you been with Parks and Rec?
I have been with Parks and Rec for a little over 30 years.
Wow.
Yes.
And I know you have several longtime employees.
We do. It's
staff
quite
members.
fascinating that there's a number of us who have been with the department 25,
wow.
30 years. So, but it's also a nice blend of with our newer, younger staff. And so right now we're in a really nice place where we have, people like myself who remember what parts of town look like.
Right.
And now we're part of redeveloping a whole new
Right.
place. And then we have the energy of our young staff and what they bring to programs and facilities.
and helping you understand what all the different generations are looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could talk a whole show about our social media team because that's
Oh, yeah.
something that wasn't part of what we did 30 years
For
ago.
sure. Well, let's talk a little bit before we get into the specifics of Switchyard Park about what Parks and Rec encompass. Because I helped on a project, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show, and it was very eye-opening for me, things that I just never realized that Parks and Rec were involved in. So 2,200 acres of parkland.
We are responsible for quite a bit of number of assets in the community. So, starting with the number of acres, a little over 2,000 acres that we're responsible for. We have 32 parks. We have 27 playgrounds, 2 pools, a golf course, an ice arena, 3 community centers, a little over 30 miles of trails.
Wow.
And then they all have the amenities that they come with them. So we are responsible for quite a bit, and that is overseen by our operations division. So quite a bit of responsibility there.
And I wanted to put that in a little bit of perspective because about 2,200 acres of parkland, IU campus is 1,900 acres.
Wow.
Or another fun fact, I did the math. I didn't do the math. The computer did the math. 2,200 acres is about 3.4 square miles. The town of Ellettsville is 4.24 square miles. So almost the entire size of the town of Ellettsville.
That is wild.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
huge.
first time I ever heard that Bloomington had the number of parks. I was like, well, where are they? You know of a few like top ones that you hear all the time that people go to, and then all of a sudden you kind of hear about another one. And I thought, I just never in my wildest dreams thought that we had that much space.
We are a good size parks department for the size that Bloomington is.
Yeah.
So, and we know that from our counterparts in other communities across the state and across the country. So Bloomington is really, really blessed to have the number of parks and facilities and assets, and our community loves what we do. I mean,
Well, that's what I was going to say. That not only do we have those parks at our disposal, and this part of the show is directed at someone who might be thinking about moving to Bloomington, our parks are well used. They're
absolutely
well loved
are.
and well used, so it's not like, I've seen some parks in other areas where they get built and they're gorgeous, but it's kind of a ghost town.
Well, and that's you bring up a really important part of what we do. We maintain. So not only do we get the opportunities like we'll talk about with Switchyard Park, but it's critical that we continue to maintain what we have. And an example I'll use of how supportive our community is, every 5 years we do a community interest survey, and we ask our community, how are we doing? What do you like? Where do you go? What can we improve on? And we also ask them, what do you want us to continue to do? And the number one answer is to maintain what you have, take care of what you have. That and build trails, but loud and clear. So that's where we put a lot of focus in maintaining what we have. We are challenged by that.
Yeah.
Some of our facilities are very, very old, but then we get the opportunity. We're in the middle of it right now. We have a $6.9 million park bond that we're doing a lot of capital improvements on. So that is our response to that, and we get the opportunity to take out park bonds about every 16 years. So
Is that like the Cascades Golf Course, Clubhouse?
Absolutely, that's a park bond project.
Okay.
We're investing in all the fairways out there. We're getting ready to demo the existing clubhouse and build a brand new $1 million clubhouse. So we are really busy with the park bond projects that speak to taking care of what we have, plus the Switchyard Park, and that's the operation project side of the operation.
Yeah.
Not to mention our over 300 programs. events, sports leagues that we offer, and that's the whole recreation and sports side of our department.
Right, and if you aren't, there are so many locations in town that you can get the program guides.
Absolutely.
My office, we have them. I don't know if you have them at your office, Karen. At
I'm
the
not
Ruoff.
for sure, but I know that I get it at home.
Yeah.
Yes, we do mail out about 34,000
Wow, that's a
program
lot.
guides 3 times a year,
Yeah.
and that also, our survey tells us, that is the number one place people find out about what we have to offer and where all of our locations are. Anybody that pays a city utility bill, that's the
Okay.
mailing list that we use. But then we also have thousands that we physically take out
Yeah.
and put in places of business. So
You're like
if
me, I live in the
new to
county,
town-
so
yes, and if you're
come to
new
my
to
office.
town,
I'll hook you up.
you can also call us, and we'll send one out to you.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about partnerships, because you kind of started to touch on that a little bit. I know one of the things that I learned recently was that you're sort of, I almost want to call it double dipping, but not in a bad way, that you put on the farmer's market, and that's a great benefit that everybody loves. I mean, I always tell people who are new to town, I'm like, just go to the farmer's market. It's the place to be seen on Saturday mornings. But then you also take that opportunity to go a step further and look for, chances to improve the life of other Bloomington people who maybe wouldn't typically go to the farmer's market. You have a program called the Double Snapback, so people who are getting food assistance can double the value of their money by buying things at the farmer's market.
It's really a neat opportunity that we have with Parks and Recreation in general, in that we get to impact people's lives in so many ways. And when you start to talk about partnerships, or like the Snapbox or our summer food service program that we run out of Banneker Community Center, when we get those opportunities to kind of go deeper and affect people's lives, that's when I think we pause and say, wow, we are really impacting people's quality of life and giving them experience and memories. And as you talk about partnerships, that is a big part of our mission statement. Not only do we provide green space and parks and facilities and programs and events that add to the quality of life, but we also partner with community organizations to maximize community resources. And we are very, very mindful that we don't duplicate services, for example, because then 2 organizations or 3 organizations.
Not the best use of public dollars.
Exactly. But what we are very good at doing at Parks and Recreation is programming and seeing who we can bring to the table. And I've been with the department long enough, I can remember a consultant coming in and saying to the staff, how many of you work with other organizations? And a lot of our hands went up, and we did a count, and we were working with over 50 organizations in one way or the other.
Wow. Nonprofits and other departments within the government.
And it really, so then when we took a closer look at that, number one, we formalized the process, because a lot of those were just deals. And, yes, I'll do this, you do that. So now we do have a formal process that goes before our board, and it's approved, but it's a great accountability tool. But it's also a way to document what we want to do. But we oftentimes, with community events, will say, okay, we're really good at programming, marketing. I'll use Jewel in the Pool, for example. We've got the pool, and it closes down. We like to program for dogs too, but who can we partner with in the community? So the animal shelter is there checking the vaccinations on the dogs. We have all kinds of vendors that come and do bring information and run. So it's a way to say, this maximizes the resources for the entire community. So one idea of an event could be really, really small. We bring 3 partners to the table, and all of a sudden we have a great big community event.
And I love that. I mean, it just makes sense, and it's all about connecting, and that's what we're trying to do.
And in this community, again, if you're new to the community, and what I like to tell people is this is a networking, cooperative community, and having been here for as long as I've been here, it's so easy to either pick up the phone because you know somebody, or somebody knows somebody who knows somebody, or you can be part of a coalition meeting and say, I'm struggling with this part of my event, and 3 people in the room will say, oh, either I can help you with that, or I know somebody that I can connect you up with that can help you with that. So it's really, really nice.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show in particular at a local level, because I just feel like it's a little way that I can give back to Bloomington, which has been so amazing to me and growing my business and helping me, find success like I never thought I would when I came back to town, because I left for about 10 years. So let's talk a little bit about Switchyard, the logistics of it. So it's 65 acres.
58
Okay,
acres.
58
yes.
acres. Okay, I had that wrong. So just as a comparison, Bryan Park is about 33 acres. So definitely a little bit bigger than that. It's a long, skinny piece of land, and we're going to put pictures on our Facebook. And then I also encourage you, what's a good website to go to? Just the in.gov?
Go to our main parks website, www.bloomington.in.gov/parks.
Yep.
And then you can get all the Switchyard Park.
Yeah, I think there's a page about Switchyard Park, and if you go to the bottom, there's tons of information. So look at that, because it really is interesting, and I think it's going to be fun to watch it develop. Karen and I were just talking about, if you drive down South Walnut and you look west now, you can see Rogers almost, and you can see they're starting the clearing out process. So how did the park idea evolve? Because this is not just something that happened in the past year.
Great question. First of all, it goes back a couple decades. It spans through 4 administrations, so that's how long. It has been a map on our wall for a very, very long time, but it was back in 2000 when CSX approached the city and just asked, the what-if question, if we would be interested. And, of course, that brought about the construction of the Beeline Trail that this community just absolutely embraced.
Yep.
And I can remember the groundbreaking for that and walking along the old railroad, and now to see what it is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that absolutely then we turned our focus further south into the Switchyard Park, and that's exactly right. You could not get from Rogers Street to Walnut because this long, narrow piece of property, which in itself is a bit challenging, and it was interesting to design the park because of that.
Yeah.
But it was in 2000 that we began to purchase property all along there, and that was just to sort of get it under our ownership and then begin to wait and how are we going to plan this.
Because as I read it, the last train wasn't gone until 2004.
Correct.
So they were still using it. So again, I mean, this is a great testament to sort of vision and baby steps and just continuing to move forward, which is something in all our lives that sometimes we need, it's not going to happen overnight.
And we do a lot of, as I mentioned, our 5-year master plan, we do a lot of long-range planning in everything, in what we do with the department. So this is just in line with how we do it, and we get things planned. So we started to purchase a property, and in 2009, we purchased the majority of the property, which is now Switchyard Park.
Okay.
And then in 2012, we convened a master plan process, and Rundell Ernstberger Associates out of Indianapolis as the consultant, who came down, and it was a week-long process held at the convention center, and it was a series of meetings with all kinds of people from the community. There were public meetings, staff attended. There were meetings that were community stakeholders and organizations, and they just took us through a visionary process. The what ifs and what about this, and just really let people talk about what they wanted to see in this new park.
And is that what's resulted in that 150-page master plan,
Yeah.
which is a lot of pictures, so don't be daunted by 150
It
pages.
is on the website, but if you're curious about the process, and of course, we were all excited for the final product and to see all those pictures, and it was just like, wow.
It came to life at that point.
It did in a sense, but we still did not have the funding for it. So, again, that's where long-range planning and being prepared is such a good place to be, because when funding does come along, and in this case, Mayor Kuzan and his administration identified $25 million back then in taxable increment financing,
TIF funds,
which are used to redevelop areas for economic benefit. So it was a perfect, here was a mass piece of land that the city owned, and it was a perfect use. So we work very closely with the Redevelopment Commission as they're responsible for TIF funds.
When I was doing the research for this program, I kept thinking about those TIF funds, which are typically used for blighted properties or things for the greater benefit of the community. And I kept wondering, what would have become of this if that vision weren't there? And I just want to, we're going to go to break here in a second, but I want to leave everyone with that thought. Think about what would have become of that land. Is it high rises, or would it have just become kind of barren, or would it become, a superstore kind of thing that isn't really, think about it, because it can be a little scary to think about what could have been. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about the amenities that Switchyard Park has to offer and how you can get involved. So stick around. You're at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Ruoff Home Mortgage. Did you know there are low or no down payment options available? If you're interested in buying a home but not sure about your options, contact me today at 812-606-7653. Together, we'll make your dreams of home ownership come true. Ruoff Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Real List. Practical advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. Today's list is the top 3 things you should know if you are a buyer in a seller's market. There are actually lots of mathematical ways that we realtors determine that we are in a seller's market, but the gist of it is that there are fewer homes for sale than there are buyers. This creates a pretty stressful and frenzied market for buyers, as there are multiple people competing for the same home. So what can you do to have better success in this market? Number 1, have all your ducks in a row. Before you even start looking at homes online or otherwise, figure out your financing situation. Get pre-qualified, know where your down payment is coming from. Get all of that ready to go, because in a seller's market, sellers don't want to waste time on a buyer who can't show them that they are financially ready and able. Number 2, think creatively. We all know to make out our list of wants and needs, right? But can some of your absolute needs be met creatively in other ways? For example, I had a client who needed to be in a certain school district. There just weren't very many options for them in that school district, and they were kind of in a time crunch because they were moving from out of state. After making some phone calls, they discovered that they had some other options in terms of schools that would work well for them. And this opened up lots of new neighborhoods for them to consider, and a home was quickly found. Other creative strategies? Well, there are creative options for financing, timing, minor remodeling, all things that can open up other home options for a buyer in a seller's market. So call upon your team, your realtor and your lender to help you think outside the box. And number 3, work with a realtor who is full-time and obsessed. Don't try to go it alone or with someone who isn't all in. You need someone who is on top of new listings, new strategies, readily accessible and responsive. It's the only way to have a shot in this market where every second counts. For more information on being a buyer in a seller's market, listen to my Real Estate Today podcast, shows number 89 and 90. You can find that on iTunes and YouTube.
My name is Brittany, and Deb Tomorrow is my realtor. She helped me buy my first home. I enjoyed working with Deb because she was patient, thorough, and made the experience fun. Deb should be your realtor too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back. Before we get back to our guest, Paula McDevitt from Parks and Recreation, we have our Facebook follow segment. This is where I like to encourage you to follow a local business or organization on Facebook that I think might be a great resource for you. And this week's Facebook follow is very practical. When I told Karen what it was, she laughed at me. But I'm a practical kind of gal. And also, bugs are gross. And so I'm going to give you a solution to that. This is a phone number that you want programmed into your phone. Of course, I don't have the phone number with me, but follow her on Facebook. Kelly's Termite and Pest Control. I sound like an ad, right? This is not, honestly, the people that I do on these Facebook follows, they don't pay me for this. This is me telling you, this is who I use, and this is who I trust. Bugs are gross. And Roberta is amazing. I met her about 5 years ago, and she just would pop into a crawl space and check things out and tell my buyers what they needed to know and what they should be concerned about or what they shouldn't be concerned about. I'm not going to tell everyone. I text her pictures all the time and say, what's this bug? Do I need to worry about this? Or what's this random hole in a wood siding? Because those wood destroying insects. But I've always just been so impressed with her honesty and her willingness to go places I certainly don't want to go. So she is 100% my go-to pest person, and I think she's got a really interesting story. I keep thinking maybe we should have her on as a guest because she She is a woman doing quite well in a male-dominated business, so that's pretty cool. She's been at it for 15 years. So follow her on Facebook. She actually posted something recently that she always just posts like really odd things about bugs, which kind of keep me up at night sometimes. There was a lady, she did like acrylic fake fingernails, and there were ants inside them. Like live ants crawling around. But then there was a disclaimer that like they took the nails off before the ants suffocated or something. I don't know. I don't really care. But yeah. So Kelly's with an E. That's Kelleys. Kelly's Termite and Pest Control. Follow them on Facebook and program their number into your phone.
I think I've seen that. I know what you're talking about. And my first thought was, who even came up with that idea? Like, let's try to encase this ant in this nail
Sure, why not?
pocket.
Ew.
Yeah,
Keep me up at night. Okay, let's get back to Paula. So we were talking about the location and how the idea of the Switchyard Park evolved. I want to talk about the access points. And so there's going to be 3 more?
We have 3 access points, which is critical because we're building this park so that lots of people can come and spend a lot of time. So our main entrance is off of Rogers Street. And that is where our biggest parking lot will be. And all 3 of the entrances that I'm describing actually right now have coming soon Switchyard Park signs with Weather
Then I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Logo on it. They are our construction company who's building the park for us. So the first, as I mentioned, is Rogers Street. That's our biggest parking lot that will take you into the main.
That's where I go. What used to be there?
The main pavilion platform area of the park. What used to be there, and that's a great, let's reflect back, is what we call Triple C property, and there used to be a series of big white pole barn type of buildings. Right across the street on the west side of Rogers Street is the Duke
substation kind of thing. Okay, I know exactly where you are.
Right there.
Okay.
So just to give you some
just past the warehouse?
Yes, exactly. The only building that is currently standing by that main entrance will remain standing, and that is our new Switchyard Park Operations Center. So where our maintenance staff will be, and storage and supplies and all of that. The second entrance is off of Grimes Lane, and as I like to describe it to people, if you are standing on the Grimes Lane Bridge and look south, this is where the Switchyard Park will open up before you, south. Currently, there is an existing, from the Switchyard Park days, limestone building, and that will be renovated into the new Bloomington Police Department substation.
Which is great.
And there's a little conference room in there. There'll be public access restrooms, a drinking fountain, and a little patio area actually on the west side of that building facing the trail, tables and chairs where people can sit and visit, and officers can be out meeting people.
Great.
And then the third entrance is on Walnut Street, and a really good throwback memory is Wee Willie's used to stand there. And we were able to purchase that several years ago, again in preparation, knowing that this was going to be built into the plan. And there is an entrance and a smaller parking lot there as well.
And coincidentally, this is just a real estate tidbit, Wee Willie's was closing anyways.
Yes.
So it wasn't like the city forced them out or anything.
No,
I think the owner passed away, and they tried to keep it going and just couldn't, and kind of shut down. And so it was serendipitous, I think. I mean, it was all kind of, I think, meant to be.
Are sad and miss the French toast and things like that.
Roast beef. Yours would always have, my better half would have a roast beef Manhattan and a chili dog. That was like his lunch. I'm like, that's disgusting. But anyways,
I used to work. I used to run the senior center way back when, and I taught a fitness class, and the ladies always used to go down there for French toast. And I was like, really? And one day they said, come with us. And I did, and I was like, okay.
See, so that's why.
Really great memories, but we're building a park that's going to be
filled
with all
new
kinds
memories.
of future new memories. That's
Change is
right.
good. So there won't be an entrance off of Country Club, even though the park stretches all the way down there.
You could park off of Country Club with the Rails to Trails existing parking lot, and then get on the Beeline Trail and head up north, and absolutely you would run right into the Beeline.
Awesome.
And the Switchyard Park.
So we've talked a little bit about the amenities that are going to be available in the park, but let's kind of go through them. So first there's going to be a pavilion.
Yes, and I think that's a really great place to start because that is going to be the heart, the center, what we're calling the railroad platform.
Oh, cool.
Part of the park. So when you enter and park in the big parking spots, which we are equipping that parking lot for food trucks, so we're doing
wonderful.
a lot of forward thinking of
Yep.
what could be. But you will see the Pavilion, which is an 11,000 square foot building. It will be a year-round facility with glass doors on the north and the south side. So we will be able to put the glass doors up to make it an indoor-outdoor area, or during inclement weather or the cold season, we'll be able to still use the building by bringing that, closing the garage doors down. And this will be a LEED silver facility.
Okay.
So we are doing solar panels, a green roof, we're collecting water. The fixtures are all part of the LEED Silver certification, so we wanted to make sure to include that. And just north of the pavilion is an event lawn, a smaller event lawn, but it will be sloped down with limestone seating, so we'll be able to pull in a small stage, a smaller size event. But in this whole area of the platform, you will be walking on pavers, which will be in different colors. So it will really stand out as a different part than the existing beeline trail. So I think it will really kind of give people a visual, okay, I am entering the Switchyard Park.
Like the yellow brick road.
Exactly.
And that pavilion's going to be rentable.
Absolutely.
So
It is
wedding
going
receptions or all kinds of stuff.
all kinds of things, corporate gatherings, reunions, weddings, festivals, we just trade shows. We have staff that will, and we're actually going to be starting that work in 2019. Putting
to
together
fill up
all
for
of
2020.
our materials together and getting the word out so that people start to book that. But absolutely, that will be available for rent. We have a small catering kitchen.
Oh, nice.
So you would be able to cater an event in, land with the food, and then serve it out. But we'll have tables and chairs and can seat up to 500. So that gives perspective of how big. And there are restrooms in there as well, and 2 staff offices. So if you're standing then, so you've arrived at the platform and you are going to look out to the east and you will see park amenities to the north, to the east, and to the south. So if you choose to go north first, you would follow the beeline trail along, and the first thing that you would see are 2 daylighted streams. We're actually bringing the Clear Creek stream, which is underneath the ground. You can't see it all the way through, and we're going to do what they call daylighting, and that's bringing it up to the surface.
I wondered what that meant because I saw that word around and I was like, I don't know what that means.
And that is really going to be a natural area. We're planting all native plants and trees, and so that'll be that passive environmental nature area if that's what people want to come and that's where they want to be. Continuing along the trail, you will then see the Skateboard Park, and that was a stakeholder group that came in and shared their opinions and what they'd like to see in the skateboard park. And then continuing along there, we have 2 open, fairly good-sized green spaces, and we purposely didn't plan anything there. It will be a great place to throw a frisbee, but we could program that space as well. But it also allows for us for future needs. We don't know what trend may come up. Is it, a need for, open a bunch of volleyball courts.
Sure,
we don't
bocce
know
ball,
what,
whatever,
exactly. But it's funny you should say bocce ball because we do have bocce
Oh,
ball.
you do?
That's coming up. And then further, continuing on north, we have 38 raised garden beds, and we have a neat little tool shed where people can rinse off their vegetables that we have redirected the water that we're collecting on top of the pavilion to the gardens.
And those raised beds are going to be available for rent.
They will come in right under our community garden program. So we have Willie Streeter Gardens and Butler Park Gardens, and then it'll be Switchyard Park raised bed gardens. So that will just begin.
So I imagine, next year you'll start to reserve space for that too.
Absolutely. And then we have a fitness center. So we have new outdoor fitness equipment, which has come quite a ways from the 70s when they first introduced outdoor fitness equipment. If people want to see what that looks like, we just threw a donor through our park foundation just put in the same equipment at Winslow Sports Complex. Not as many pieces, but if people want to get an advanced look at what this is going to be, that's a great place to go check out. And then the center area of where the equipment is set up is a surface that we'll be able to teach outdoor fitness classes, a yoga class, for people that are interested in that type of activity.
Nice.
And then moving right along to the bocce ball courts. We
there you
have 3
go.
official size bocce ball courts. When it was first designed, I believe we had 3, but they were shorter. And we had, but if we made them regulation, then we could host tournaments and that. And we're going to have hanging lights over the bocce ball courts to create a little bit of atmosphere.
Ambiance, nice.
And then we will pass by 4 pickleball courts. Pickleball is
I don't know
very,
what that
very
is.
popular.
I don't either.
It's a short-sided tennis game.
Okay.
So if you have never played tennis, you can play pickleball.
Huh?
If you are a former tennis player, you can play pickleball. It's super easy rules, but it's just a short-sided court with a larger wooden paddle and a wiffle ball. So
Okay.
your area where you have to make contact is larger.
Gotcha.
But it's a really fun social game. Started out to be very popular with seniors, but is now spanning the ages. And it's
So you're telling me I don't have to run so hard?
you don't. Well, you don't have to
Perfect.
cover as much space.
Okay.
And if you have long arms, you can literally
Right.
stand and reach and get it. And you have a partner. I mean, you can play singles or
Yeah.
doubles, but if you're playing
I
in
think
doubles,
we would
you
be
gotta-
dangerous.
Somebody's got the
We'd be
front,
dangerous.
somebody's got the back, but it's super fun. And then we have a basketball court, and so this is what we're calling our physical activity area of the
Okay.
park. And there's lots of seating. All of our amenities that we have chosen complement the Switchyard Park history. So logs and big lumber pieces and a lot of metal. So very. It fits into the
Yeah.
space, and it's our throwback to what was.
Honoring
and the
what
history
used to be
was
there.
and that look. And
I love
throughout
it.
the park, we'll have 11 interpretive signs that will share the history of the space and how it was used and that. So that's what is on the north end of the park. And that's the Grimes Lane parking lot. So that'll be really convenient for people who want to come and
Yeah.
want to access that part. So if you are standing in the platform, I'll take you back to the middle
Okay.
of the park, and you look east. You will look out over 2 great lawns. Each one of those lawns will be able to accommodate 3,000-4,000 people.
Wow.
And we are building a beautiful outdoor stage in one of the great lawns, and this is bigger than the stage that we have at the Waldron Hill Bus Curb. We spent afternoon with the stakeholders in the community that we partner with already for performances, and really listened to them of what size stage, what lighting and sound, storage needs and that. So a lot of input from the community went into the stage. And then further south, we have a dog park. We have 2 dog parks, 2 sizes, little dog, big dog.
I always wondered about that because I have 3 little dogs,
Uh-huh.
and I think I can't take them to a dog park because there's big giant dogs there, and they're just little bittier
you
things.
could go to Ferguson Dog Park.
Do they have
on the
big
north
dog,
side.
little dogs?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
never
do,
even check
yes,
it out.
That's pretty standard because you have the big dog, little dog issue.
Right,
But yes,
right.
and there's drinking fountains for both humans and the
Nice.
dogs down there. And then for people to go on our website and actually take a look at the map, which I can describe, there are just so many trails,
2
paved
miles of trails
that
through there.
are throughout the park. So again, and I get this question often, can I go around the park? Can I go through the park? You can circle this park in so many variety of
Yeah.
ways that I think it will be really fun for people to experience. Now, I have to take you back to the center of the platform,
Yeah.
because this is, as I said, this is the hub. We went north, we went south, we went east. But what's happening in the platform is a splash pad, which we are super excited about. This is the first one in our park system. And it's a splash pad that will have bubbling up fountains. So it won't have like features that fill up and dump water on you. It will be fountains that come up flat from the surface. And what it will also allow us to do, we can turn it off and we can program over it.
Oh, okay.
So if we had an event there that we needed all that outdoor platform space, we would be able to do that. We have a large group shelter also in the platform space, and that will have two sides to it, and down the center of it will be limestone seating and a gas fireplace. We wanted to add a little, again, ambiance to that. And then we are constructing, we don't have one of these either in our park system, what we're calling a bosque. And we will be planting larger trees in this bosque, very symmetrical, again with the neat hanging lights. And all of the furnishings that we have selected under there are going to encourage group gatherings. So freestanding tables and chairs that people can move around. Table of 4, table of 8, carry this chair over here because I know these people over here. And then we also will be putting in large banquet tables, which is a departure from our regular standard picnic table in our parks, but large banquet tables.
So I'm envisioning like farm-to-table events or something like that.
Or, you know, your family's sitting here and another family comes up and joins us. So again, we have really envisioned and planned for this park to give lots of choices and areas, encourage people to stay. But the other final amenity that we'll talk about is the playground, because if you have a park, you have to have a playground. And I have talked to many children at the farmers market about when they see this plan, they want to know what's in it. We are creating a playground with a nice surface, so soft surface. If there's any tumbles, it'll be fine. But we're planning features that are built into the environment. So
I saw a hillside slide. I'm very excited about that.
And I just saw the order sheet for that today. I'm like, yes.
Oh, that sounds really so fun.
A totally accessible playground. We're putting in swings, which I've had requests for many years, where a parent and a child can sit in the same swing facing each other and swing together. We are also putting musical instruments in there. And then for the parents, the caregiver, the grandparents that bring the children, we have picked out what we call porch swings with nice awnings over them, the Kubota tops, so shade, but so that they can be comfortable and watch. But we don't have those types of swings anymore. So again, just listening to our community and how they want to be comfortable in our parks.
Well, now I'm beyond excited. So my next question is, when can we go?
Great question. Great question. We are currently under construction. We broke ground May of this year. We are busy every day, and we are working towards a opening of November 2019.
Oh, that quick.
That quick, yes. So again, we'll be spending 2019 planning advertising and marketing, but also planning our grand opening. And I haven't decided if it's going to be a grand opening event or events. Because it's such a substantial
big
park
deal,
and that, so we're really looking forward to that. And then we'll continue. The project won't be officially completed until May of 2020 with the plantings of flowers and trees that you do during the spring. But we will be open for business in November 2019.
And one point I want to make sure that we make is that the Beeline's going right through, and it's going to remain open.
Great question. I thank you for asking that question. It is currently open, and I encourage people to ride their bike, run, walk by, and watch the building in progress. But our next project coming up here in the next couple of weeks is to build the East Side Bypass Trail. That once that is open, we will be closing a big section of the existing Beeline Trail so we can build the platform and the spray pad and all of that. But when that bypass trail is open, people will be able to come along and then cut over. We'll have lots of directional signs. Use the bypass trail, and again, watch it under construction. As we've mentioned, right now you can see across the park from Walnut to Rogers, so now people will be able to walk along that trail and watch it up close.
Right. And if we're not used to detours by now in Bloomington, come on, right?
I know. I was trying to keep my comments to myself whenever the grand opening would be November of next year, and I thought, well, it's definitely not like waiting for I-69 to be completed, down here in Bloomington. So it's really exciting. I'm looking at the maps as Paul's been going through everything, and it makes me want to buy a house closer to
so you can use it every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I do think it's going to have a big impact on real estate, in lots of different ways, and it's going to be fascinating from that perspective to watch it grow. So we are overtime. There you go. But such good information. So a couple points I want to make. Let's see. Where can people find out more? Can you give us your website again?
Bloomington.in.gov/parks. And just follow the links through there. We have our Switchyard Park master plan, the map, and we're also taking drone footage.
Oh, fun.
And we'll be putting that up as that becomes available so people can watch the progress that way.
Great. And we're going to be posting links to all of that too, so we can help point you in the right direction. I do want to mention in closing that Parks and Recreation Department is up for an award, a 2018 National Gold Medal Award for Excellence in Park and Recreation Management. And we are recording this on, what is today? August 28th, 2018, because people could be listening to this anytime. So we'll know in about a month, because I think those awards come out September
25th.
25th. There's a video that was created, and I was lucky enough to do some voiceover work for that video. So we're going to be putting that link up, and hopefully everybody will go and watch it, because just working on that project, I learned so much more about Parks and Rec, and it's kind of what drove me to want to do this as our first episode of At Home in Bloomington, because there's just so much going on there. So check out these resources, look at the website, look at the program guide, look at the master plan, get excited, because I literally, Karen, you probably did too. Did you have some goosebumps while she was talking about
really
the things
excited.
going on?
I've been very
seriously.
quiet today because this was all like almost brand new information for me, because I first saw this drawing rendition a couple of years ago. We were talking before the show started, and so to see that it's all coming together and it's under construction is awesome.
And I think sometimes too, like I said earlier, I'm just so impressed that this is not an overnight project, and it's daunting. It's overwhelming. There's so many moving parts, and I think you all have done a magnificent job, and it's just going to be such a wonderful thing for our city. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us today.
Oh, so thrilled to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back with another episode of At Home in Bloomington. Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions too. You can email me at deb@realrealestatetoday.com. And follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karen Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Special thanks to superstar producer Rachel D. Gregorio, digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.